The gang's all here. I'm Anna Rumor with Pop Culture.
And I'm Nick Valdez from comicbook.com.
And this is Dragged, where we offer up our unfiltered opinion about RuPaul's Drag Race and not a soul can clock. Nick, we're going in this week on episode 11. We're almost at the finale, but we've got this variety extravaganza, and I cannot get Monica Beverly Hill's lackluster song out of my head. What did you think of this week's episode?
Oh my god, it was just so fun having everyone back. I can't believe how much I've missed Lala Ree in particular. You know, getting her just to give us the narration for the episode again. I'm like, yes. Oh, this is the energy we've been missing so dearly. It's
true. The Lala Ree experience, it proved itself to me during this episode because I was like, oh yeah, I remember when this season was kind of fun.
Yes, that's what it was. I was like, oh, the fun is back. The energy, it was so good seeing everybody again and happy. You know, maybe it's the stress of the competition has left them, but it was just good. It was just a fun episode.
I love that we started off with the reading challenge because I was like, what? Are we not going to read each other this season? But we are. We just had to wait for everyone to come back. Did you have any standouts? Mrs. Kasha Davis won. Did you think she deserved it?
Oh, yeah. She really put the kindness aside. This is not the time for kindness, right?
I loved whenever she said, what'd she say to Lala? She thinks about her when she takes out her trash?
No, that's Jessica.
Oh,
Jessica was
Jessica. I love that one. That was my favorite one.
Yes, she was like, I think about you every Thursday night because that's when I take out the trash.
Yes.
And Mrs. Kasha Davis, with Jessica Wilde, that was a great joke too. It's like, oh, we love playing your album to get our guests to leave.
Oh, yes. That's what it was. I loved that one. That was really good. There were several good ones. I mean, I also really liked Candy talking to Jessica, apologizing to Puerto Rico and being like, it's okay, you actually don't know who she is anyways. That was all good. Also, Jimbo to Naysha, 𝐿 called and she said F you. That's very funny.
Oh, and she called Darian Lake Darian Bug. Oh my god.
Which is if you have 2 stumps and you smell bad or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the reading challenge, it's time for our variety extravaganza. And again, I was excited that we were doing this season because we didn't open up with it. And so I was like, oh, we're just not doing a talent show? So we kick off with easily the worst performance, but also the best, the one that stayed with me the longest. We kick off with Miss Monica Beverly Hills. As she lip syncs to her one and only song, Not a Soul Can Clock. And man, I thought that her entire performance was the intro to before a beat was gonna drop, and it just ended.
You know what? Sometimes you only need one song, right?
Yeah, and 8 words in that song total.
I agree. The judges this time around were very positive, and I get it, because it's you don't want to kick someone when they've already lost, right?
They're dead already, please.
Yes, so I get it. So when they said all the stuff with Monica, I was like, oh, are you sure? But I found myself, after the episode, just singing to myself, not a soul can clock. Not a soul can clock. So, you know what? She's on to something.
She really is. Everyone's saying it sounds like not a soaking clock, and then being like Salvador Dali, her mind. It's so funny. And just something about her energy of walking out there, doing 2 slow circles and sitting down. That is charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Am I right?
Yeah. It's yes, girl, she's giving us nothing, right? But at the same time, like I said, she's ahead of the curve. I don't know. I feel she's tapped into something that we're gonna start seeing. I don't know. I loved it.
So did I. We were so stupid. I love it. Oh my gosh. Up next, we had Miss Naysha Lopez doing this flamenco dance, and I thought she looked beautiful in this long black dress that revealed to be a leotard. But again, I think this is maybe due to the length of their performances, but it felt a little low energy, lackluster to me. What do you think?
Yeah, it felt like it was building up to a crescendo, a peak. But they also mentioned throughout the episode that they really only have a minute to work with. So, maybe that's what it is. Maybe her performance is supposed to be way more fleshed out, but she tried to do like the beginning, middle, and end in a minute, and it's like, oh, it never really explodes.
Yeah, if you have a minute, you have to come out the gate exploding. You can't have this lead up, because then we're left at the end being like, huh. Also, sometimes her heels tippy-tappying did not match up with the music tippy-tappying, and I just wanted to point that out.
But she looked great.
Oh yeah, looked fantastic. Looked fantastic. Next up, we had Mrs. 𝐏𝐨𝐩 Davis with her breakdown song. I did not expect this from Mrs. 𝐏𝐨𝐩 Davis, but I loved it.
I mean, Queen with the Message, great. I had no idea what was going on. I will be 100% honest. If this was at the beginning of the season, I would have said, hey, go home.
Love this. You're right, climate change is bad, and we should vote. Why is the wig off? What's going on? But I feel like knowing her more this season, I was like, yes, correct. I love this. So I think you're right. This stood up better to the test of time at the end of the season.
Yeah, completely agree. It's because I love Mrs. 𝐏𝐨𝐩 Davis now. I liked her before, but now I'm like in love with her. So yes, do everything you want, Queen. Do it all.
I know. Also, her taking the wig off just to put it back on, I was like, that's funny. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, that's just
good.
good.
Me laugh.
Yeah, that's just good stuff, right?
Now, speaking of like some real talent, we've got Darian Lake coming up to do this comedy set. A, this is the most comfortable I've ever seen her on the show. And B, she looked fantastic in this dress. And C, she was really funny.
Yeah, it's tough because Darian's doing the same kind of self-deprecating humor she always has on the show. So my thing was, oh, we've heard these kinds of jokes before, but this really does show how far she's come since she was on season 6. We saw her doing the same kinds of routines, but here it's like, oh, this is just like Darian Lake. This is Darian like Ocean, or I don't know what an evolution of a lake is, but it's like she's really coming to her final form. Like she looks fantastic. The jokes are like have a little more positivity to them, and it's just like she did it in a minute. So kudos to her.
Yeah, I had no solid like LOLs, but again, they have 1 minute, and those are solid jokes. And she commanded the stage. I will give her full credit for that. Next up, we have James. James Mansfield takes the stage, and if there's anything that Ru loves, it's a boob reveal, and James knows Ru. And so she does that while lip syncing her song about how she's not good at anything but having big boobies, and I actually really loved it. I thought it was so funny.
So, I'm so torn because it's the same gimmick we've seen. Like, this is a James we've seen do dozens of times in this show. But in a package, I also get it. Like, I'm like, oh, if I would have saw this at the beginning of the season, I would have said, this is great. She's perfect. I want to see her more. But now I'm like, oh, but at least it had that musicality. Like, it was a fun song. It was very musical theater compared to what we see later, So it was just fun and a good time.
I thought so too. And you know what? If Ru loves it, why not keep doing it, I guess,
Yeah.
She cackles every time she does it. And I also let out a cackle when she said, and they're real.
Yeah.
Next to the stage, we have Kahanna coming out with this little like cheerleading lip sync routine, and she does a standing back tuck. So like 10 out of 10 from me.
Yeah, where was this Kahanna? Like, is it because the stress of the competition's over now that she no longer has to worry about doing everything perfect? But if this Kahanna was there the entire time, we might be looking at a different top 2. I'll just say that straight out.
I agree. I mean, she was clearly very confident. She's incredibly talented, and I just loved watching her. She was electric on that stage.
Yeah, like, this is why she does the big shows in Vegas, right? It's like, oh, this is it, Kahanna. This is the you we should have seen. It's a shame it's so late now, but hey, like, just like with Darian, it really shows how far you've come since we've last seen you. It's only a shame that she's followed by Lala Ri, who gives us the Lala Ri experience, and now everything clicks. Like, this is an all-star.
It's like, are we at Drag Race or are we at a Beyonce concert? Because my God, the hair, the body, the costume, the dancing, the face, I would have paid like actual real money and a lot of it to see this in full performance. This was fantastic.
Yeah, I want to pay money for this.
Yes, like me throwing dollars through my screen, like please pay this queen.
It's a very sensuous song performance, and then she gives the goofball at the end. Yes, 2 tickets to the LaLa Ri experience, please. Like this is what this Fame Games extravaganza was for. Right? Yeah. Like if you were on the fence about LaLa Ri's looks, you know, because we've talked about this here. Yes. That's what I mean. We've talked about this here. She started off with some wonky looks, but I don't know. If this doesn't make you see her in a different light altogether, I don't know what will.
Yeah, honestly, maybe Drag Race is just not for her. Maybe she doesn't have good clothes, and that's fine.
That might be it. You know, we've seen the later seasons go more into big fashion territory, but you know, it does leave the big performers in the wake, like as we've seen with LaLa. Like, you know, she had some really elegant moments this season, but this is, I mean, I'm rooting for the Fame Games. Can't lie.
So am I. It really is wild. I went into this episode being like, this is really not going to change anything. Jessica Wilde all the way. We'll talk about her in just a second, but I left being like LaLa Ri all the way. So it did change some stuff. Before we talk about Jessica, though, let's talk about Alexis Michelle, who gets up there and does Old Broadway with 2 tomatoes on her chest. Those were not apples. I'm sorry.
I will give her credit. She's doing her Broadway thing. We finally see the full, like, musical theater in her control kind of performance. Kudos, but yeah, after the LaLa Ri experience and then before Jessica Wilde, this was an unfortunate spot to be in. I'll just say that. Let's talk about what's not a shame. Jessica Wilde and that hairography.
What is that glued with? That's super glue. You know she can't take that off. She's still wandering the streets wearing that wig.
It's definitely stapled on at this point. Like, wow. Just not only does that show you how long she's been in this game and how ready she is for everything, it's just like how is that not impressive? I was just in love. I was like, wow, you did it. I love Jessica Wilde, and that just made me love her more.
She, like, J-Lo who? You know, this was giving me halftime show performance. This was great. I loved this.
Jessica Wilde, you can do no wrong. You've won in my eyes. You know, even though LaLa Ri might win the Fame Games, Jessica Wilde came out a real winner this season.
Let's come to our actual winner for this season. Or, we don't know that yet, but... Come on. Jimbo comes out here looking like an all-natural woman eating ice cream from her hair and everywhere else. That is my winner, y'all. Irene Dubois found dead.
Anna, I had to rewatch this because I missed so much of it. I was laughing so hard. I laughed so hard, I got lightheaded, and I was like, what's actually happening still? So I had to rewind it, and then I laughed as hard again. So it just, and it wasn't not only the ice cream, it was the, ooh, ah.
It's the concept, it's the execution. Her mind is so like warped and silly that everything she does is just so funny. This is just like, what even is this talent? I don't know. Clownery, basically.
Yeah. Well, you know, just construction of everything. I will, like, we have to just take a second and be like, yes, like, that is a talent in of itself. The little freezer in the wig, come on. Jimbo.
Where did you get that? Oh my God. Come on, like, this is winner behavior, right?
Yeah, I can't. As much as I love Candy Muse, and as much as I love her performance, we'll talk about it in a second, but it's just, this won it. I can't lie.
I know. Well, and let's talk about Candy's too, because she did look beautiful. I Want to Be Your Muse, work, you know, she's feeling the fantasy, she looks great. I don't know, that's kind of it for me.
It's a shame that she had to follow Jimbo. I think that's all it is. It's like, it's a great, solid performance. It was just tough going back to do quote unquote the usual stuff, you know, quote unquote,
Yeah.
just performances and songs. And after Jimbo just did something so off the wall and wild and just fun that we get a saucy performance song, and it's great. I love Candy, but it's just after Jimbo kind of ended it, you know?
So when it comes down to the winners of the Fame Games, we have 𝐿aLaRi and James Mansfield. Did you think that was the correct double win?
So my Jessica Wilde bias was saying, you know, oh, it should be Jessica instead of James. But, you know, after sitting on it, it was in the moment I felt that way. But after sitting on it and us talking about it here, I was good with it.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. At first I was like, oh, I want Jessica to have an advantage just because I love her so much. But then I was like, well, looking back on my notes, I think James earned a spot up there. So because both of them are in the top, we are going to lip sync against each other for the opportunity to spin a wheel for a multiplier of votes in the Fame Games. And we have Rain on Me. These two had a lot of fun with each other during the lip sync, and I thought it was cute, you know, whatever.
Lala clearly dominated. Lala won, you know. So when RuPaul said James was the winner, I was a little, I gotta admit, I was like, what?
Yeah, no, same. I was like, we all just saw that, right? Like, we're watching the same thing. I understand now why people were upset with James' favoritism. But,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think a double win is fine. They both get to spin the wheel. Lala gets 3 times the votes. James gets 2 times the votes. And based on that lip sync performance, I think that karma was a wheel.
Yeah, just give Lala the little extra edge. I wish she got the 5, but you know, maybe that would have tweaked the competition a little too much.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see whether or not that actually changes things. Looking into the Fame Games voting, you can vote, 10 times from each device for any of the queens.
And from
you know,
each email address.
Yes. So, you know, I have put my vote in, you know, so.
Yeah. Just my allotted amount of votes. Not like some of these other fans who are out here voting 800 times.
But, you know, I'm curious to see if the multipliers change that. Well, I guess we'll find out in the finale. I don't even know how that works because they film it all beforehand. And, you know what? RuPaul's done this. I should trust in RuPaul, right?
Yeah, we always trust in RuPaul because at the end of the season, we get a winner whether or not we understand how we got there. And that's got to be enough for us. I am excited for the finale, though. We're getting an actual finale, and we've got a top 2. So, like we've said in past episodes, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, if this works out and we get a full, compelling episode with 2 performances and a final top 2, I wouldn't mind that being the format moving forward. I don't know. Let's see how it plays out.
We'll see what happens next week. We'll come to you with a winner next week on Drag. Make sure you tune in every week, and we will recap more Drag Race with you. Until then, not a soul can clock.